All right, welcome back, everybody. High school finances, week number 3. Woo! Anybody excited for Easter? All right, well, welcome, guys. Glad to have you back. If you haven't been here before, actually, if we could have you guys come, go ahead and gather together if the table you were with last week. If you weren't here last week, then you're welcome to join any of the tables. That'd be great. We want to kick off this week. Just doing some celebrating. Was there anything how the Lord showed up over the last week in your life, whether it's something big or something small? Any celebrations you'd like to share that we could celebrate with you guys? Don't be shy. We're all friends here. No? Okay. All right, we won't push it, but anybody have anything that you learned last week that really stuck out to you? I know we're all warming up, right? All right, we're trying to remember. What did we talk about last week? What was going on? All right, so one thing that we tried to do last week that we didn't quite have time to get to was our debate. And we were debating the best way to buy a car. Do you guys remember your teams? There was a team that was going to be debating, it's going to be best to buy a brand new car, best to buy a used car, or best to lease a car. Do you guys remember who was at your table for that discussion last week, for that time? All right. So I want to give you guys just a couple of minutes to discuss with your table and pick who you would like to come up and represent your side of the debate. And let's go ahead and pick two people per topic, okay? All right, so go ahead and take a couple minutes. Make sure you're with your crew. Yeah, so if you're not with a group of people, move. We want there to be 3 tables right now. So let's go ahead and get with your group.
Like how you guys doing? Better. The buying a new car is better. New car?
Who was part of a group last week where you were part of a table that was assigned to look at that it was the best idea to buy a used car? Raise your hand if you were part of a table. All right, so this is the used car table right over here. All right, good deal. How about as far as leasing a car? Raise your hand if you're part of that leasing a car is going to be the best option table. You guys want to be the lease car table then? Those two? All right, you guys are going to be our... how about you guys somehow sit together? How about the 4 of y'all join forces? It doesn't matter, whoever can move whichever direction. But you guys are going to talk about why it's a good idea to lease a car. Why that would be the best idea. And we'll give you guys a couple minutes to get your notes together, and we'll come up and share. All right, one more minute, guys. One more minute. Yeah, maybe you can chip in if they miss something, like some other ideas on why this, one of the ones are good ideas or not.
We have the
We have a
do we
slide.
have that table for this week? I know we had it for last week, but are we able to go back and look at that, reference that
For the debate thing?
table that I put together?
Yep. Like this one here? Oh, I guess that slide is not working. I thought we had all of them in there. I guess not. It's okay.
I know some points on something.
Oh, we can bring it up here, though. This one? All right, let's go ahead and let's do this debate. All right, let's have someone from this table come up and represent buying a new car. Somebody from this table. Yeah, we have two buying a new car tables. So come on up too. All right, we have someone here from our used car table. And how about our lease? Who's going to represent our group about leasing a car? All right, both of y'all pointing at each other. Come on up. There we go. Come on up. Let's do this. There must be something you're going to say that we need to hear. All right, so since we have two buy new cars, how about we start and finish with the buy a new car? Who would you like to go first between you two? You want to go first? Okay, go for it.
Buying a new car is a very wise decision because, one, it will last much longer on average than a used car. Two, the fuel emissions are way better for the environment, and fuel is generally gets you better mileage for a newer car. And for three, you don't have to repair it a quarter as much as an old car.
Great points. Give them a hand, guys. That was really good. Whoop, whoop. All right, thank you. All right, you're welcome to pass the mic and sit down for a sec.
Not to me.
Oh, you have new car as well, right? Okay, so you go.
Oh, yes to me?
We'll do all the new cars? Okay, let's do all new cars.
Oh, okay. Why buying a new car is better is it'll last longer, and if you get tired of your new fancy car, they're way easier to sell. Oh, and they have less mileage, so they'll also be easier to sell because of that. Sorry. They look way better, so you'll have more friends than if you had an old dusty car. They're more durable and they last longer. It's already said, but yeah.
Great points. Thank you. That was awesome. Yeah, give her a hand. That was awesome. The coolness factor. Yes, can't overlook that. All right. How about we do used cars next? Why is it a good idea to buy used cars?
It can be a good idea to buy a used car because used cars are overall cheaper too. They're not you're not spending a lot of money on this new car just to drive it out and get in a car crash or something. Parts for the used car can also be cheaper, if it gets damaged or whatever. And insurance on a used car is also cheaper.
Good points. Awesome. Give her a hand. That was really good. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, he had a good point, so.
Oh, yeah, let's hear. We have another one over here. Let's hear. On the used car front?
It's been test driven.
What was that again?
The test driven, like you said, if it's a brand new, never in the market car,
Oh.
they haven't worked off the bugs out of it yet.
Oh, that's a good thought. So they worked out the kinks.
If I was
All right, so why is it a good idea to lease a car?
So leasing a car is basically like making a bet with the manufacturer, and the manufacturer assumes all the risks of that. Because this, according to a guy who works in leasing for Mercedes, he said that the idea with a lease is that you're only paying for depreciation, and at the end of a lease, you have the right to buy the car at the predetermined price, but guessing what a car will be worth in 3 or 4 years can be tricky. Say the car company gets it wrong and the car depreciates more than they thought, then you win because you hand it back over to them and walk away. If it ends up about right, you could buy the car or not, and if the car doesn't depreciate as much as they predicted, then you get to buy it at below market value. There's no bad outcome for the customer from the customer point of view. So.
Interesting. Good
why you should
research. Was there something additional? All right, let's go ahead.
Another point is to like you don't have to pay for the repairs if something were to like go wrong with leasing a car, and it's only like maximum is like 2 years.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, those are good points. Thank you for adding those. That's great. Can you guys give a big hand to these guys for helping us out? Do we, if you guys were to vote now on which idea do you think is the best, let's just do a show of hands. Do you guys think it's the best idea to buy brand new? Okay, we got 3 or 4 hands. All right, how about leasing? Who thinks it's the best idea to lease a car? No leasers. Oh, one leaser. There we go. And who thinks it's a good idea to buy a used car? That's going to be the best idea. All right, so our used car folks, you are going to be the winner of that debate. You guys enjoy a gift card to our coffee station. You can get a coffee or tea on us. Thank you guys for being a part of that. Awesome. Kyle, was there anything else you want to add to our car debate?
10 years ago, used versus new was clear that used was the right choice because of COVID, everything going on with tariff discussion now. It's a little more gray. All great points. I really like the point about insurance. That's great that you're thinking about other costs than just the upfront cost. Just a couple of things for new. You usually get what's called a promotional rate, which can be really cheap. Like I think I got like 2 or 3%, which is like probably the cheapest money, like really favorable terms. So all the interest that you're paying is over whatever, I think it was 4 years, is really not that much, but higher monthly costs. New car, you get all the newest safety features. Like someone said, you don't have as much repair costs. So there's a table. We can send it to you later. I put it together, but I thought I just chose a Honda Accord. The cost per year I thought was the cheapest if you hold it for a long time, but it just depends on if you can make that higher monthly payment, or if you wanted a used car. It's obviously a lower monthly payment, but you have more repair costs. So just whatever you want. If you want a cool new car, you can lease every 3 years. But that's generally, I've found more higher cost per year. So yeah, all good points though.
Yeah, that was some really good insights, guys. Yeah, good job, y'all. Whoop, whoop. All right. So part of the homework was looking up. You've already done your Enneagram, and then going and looking at kind of your spiritual gifts. Raise your hand if you had a chance to do that. All right. If you didn't do that yet, just make it a point to do that this week. And if you have a question on that, let us know. Towards the end of the class, there's going to be a little other homework, so we do want to make sure that you do figure out your Enneagram type, because the homework this week is looking at it through a career perspective. We'll share links to help you look at, say, all right, so if I'm this type, what kind of careers might be a good fit for me, and what kind of careers might not be a good fit for me? So definitely want to check those out. For those of you guys that did look up your spiritual gifts, anything stick out to you? Any surprises? Anything you'd like to share? Was it pretty accurate, you felt like, or confirmation? I'm getting nods, yes? Yeah? Okay. Sweet. All right. Well, next, we actually want to watch a quick video. And while you're watching it, just try to think about, hey, what sticks out the most to you? We'll have an opportunity afterwards to chat about it a little bit and share what stood out to you. But before we play it, though, if anyone hasn't been here before, there's a QR code to download a spreadsheet. It's up on the screen right now, but there's also copies on your table. So if you have a phone, you can get that scanned and get into your spreadsheet. If you've already been using one, then just bring up the one that you've already been using, but we'll go from there. So we'll go ahead and watch this video, guys.
My name is Ashley Stathis, and I'm from Dallas, Texas.
My name is Brandon Stathis. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm 27 years old.
I'm 27 too. I ended up in Austin after I graduated college. I took a job working at the University of Texas, Young Life, and have been here ever since. So when we were dating, looking towards potentially getting married, potentially getting engaged, there were certain aspects of each other's lives that we wanted to sort of check off and say, okay, how's this going? What are your thoughts and expectations in this area? One of those was finances.
We were sitting in a coffee shop, and Brandon was like, so, what do your finances look like? And as I brought up debt, and I was like, yeah, well, I have a lot of student loan debt, and that's where I said some of my money went to. He was like, how much do you have? And I was like, I don't even know the vastness of it. I don't know how much I have. His disapproval was like, I was like, oh gosh.
It was a light disapproval.
Deep.
It was a light,
it was like disapproval.
Oh,
but it was like,
cool.
Oh wow, I can start sinking in my seat, and there that's where the conversation began. Okay, well let's look into how much you have.
Ashley called me and she was a little off. She goes, well, I found out how much student loan debt I have.
So then after we calculated, it discovered it was about $62,000.
I don't know. I don't even know what I said at that point. I was like, oh. And I think initially there was some fear in me. How are we going to live? How are we going to live with that payment? I probably should change jobs. All that type of stuff went through my head and was very, very real.
Gosh, we have an incredibly strong group of friends here in Austin. That's one thing that drew us here. It's just an incredible community of people that love each other really well.
It was really interesting. When I first met Brandon, it was like just that natural click of a guy that is going to be one of your very close friends. When I first met Ashley, we were getting ready to move her down to Austin, and I was moving all my stuff from Dallas to Austin.
I met Brandon when I came home from work one day and sat down on the couch next to me and said, my name's Brandon and we're gonna be friends.
I met Brandon when I started to work with him, basically.
Ashley has always been someone that, she's been so steady.
I remember very clearly when Brandon told me that they were gonna take this on head on and just eliminate the debt in the fastest and most streamlined way possible. And I just remember being like, wow, I don't know how you guys are gonna do it.
There were a lot of questions, a lot of, do you really need to go at it that hard?
My business mind was like, well, if you can find a better investment, it's not a bad thing to leave some of that as debt and to also invest in a higher interest rate accruing type of an account. And he's just like, no, bro, we're going after it full bore. We're gonna put every bit of Ashley's salary towards there. And I happen to know how much Brandon makes because we talk about it. And I just remember being like, wow, all right, here we go.
One night I was just talking to Ashley on the phone and I could hear it in her voice. I was just like, I miss them and I want to see them, and I was so proud of the way they had been fighting and fighting for it. I felt like God was just like, well, do something about it. If I feel this way about this, and I know there's a lot of people who care and love them, I bet they would help out.
And we just started kind of coming to a point saying, here's where we need to be in terms of us raising money, and as you know, their debt is dwindling and we're raising money, and we just needed to project out where those two are going to meet.
Before we started even asking, everybody was wanting in on it.
I think that was the beauty of it, is there was a girl who, you know, emailed me one day and she's like, I can only give $8. You know, I think it's like for her, she got to understand that my heart was being pushed towards giving.
We love bringing people into our home. And so we also knew that we wanted to make it not just a hand over the check, but we wanted people to have an opportunity to say why they wanted to give. We thought, well, let's just invite everybody over. Let's go all out with this.
I wanted to tell them so bad before the night happened, but knowing that it was coming, it was the biggest night of my year.
Yeah, so Chris, he called me and says, hey, what are you doing tonight? Nothing? Great. I'm gonna take you to this place. It's this new place in town. You're gonna love it. I wanna bless you and Ashley. You just come with me, and I'll take you to a really, really cool restaurant in town.
So the night started, I basically just picked them up at their apartment, told them we were a little early and I needed to stop by Lucy's house to grab some shirts.
I expected as we got here, he would just hop out and grab the shirt, and he like turned off his car, and I was like, okay, like, what are we doing here? I guess we're all gonna go get the shirt.
They had no idea what was going on that night.
Lucy was here to greet us, and so we all came inside. It was like super clean and fresh in here, and I was like, man, this is great. They took us, Lucy was like, oh, they're actually out back. And I was like, they're out back? Like, t-shirts outside? That's kind of odd, but sure, let's go.
I'm utterly confused. There's people from all walks of life that we know all around town.
Not even on cue, just people picked up the microphone, and the second they sat down, just started talking about what Brandon and Ashley meant to them, and the biggest things that they saw in Brandon and Ashley that were a blessing to their lives.
It was so neat to be able to have a reason to tell your friend what they mean to you.
So then Lucy got on the mic, and still no clue what's going on, and she starts to say some things that she sees in us, and then she says, you know, one thing that all of us here have in common that we've learned and seen in y'all is your journey of paying off debt. So over the last couple weeks, we've all been putting together a lump sum of money because we want you guys to know that Jesus has set you guys free in hundreds of ways. And we want to be that picture to you guys. And we want y'all to know that right now, you're debt free.
Brandon and Ashley didn't know what to do. I think at that moment it clicked.
Every single person in that audience walked away a little bit further understanding of how deep and how far and how much Jesus loves us.
I think I've just learned that God's economy is more of the heart, and so I think he really showed me I doubted he could do something big. He totally destroyed that lie.
One of the funny things that I don't understand about life is that it really is more fun to give than to receive. They received the gift of the money, but we received the gift of joy and love because we gave.
All right. What did you guys think of that story? Pretty powerful? All right. What stood out to you guys? What's something? Yeah, there we go.
The woman, I think her name was Lucy, just thought she couldn't give, but then she branched out to all these other people. It doesn't always have to be a single giving action. It can be a culmination of a bunch of different people with the same Jesus mindset.
Amen. Amen. That is a cool part of that story, isn't it? Did anyone else have that same thought? Like if we work together, we can do something pretty big. Yeah, that's cool. Who else?
I just think it's crazy how much it impacted the people that were giving. It seemed like even more than the people that were receiving it. And just like how they were saying, it made my whole year, and we got the gift of joy and stuff, and just how crazy that is.
It is crazy, isn't it? Did anyone else have that same thought? Like, wow, these guys really had a lot of joy being able to be a part of giving. A little shocking, right? But yeah, pretty cool. Anybody else? What else stuck out to you guys? Anyone else think forward to down the road when you're looking at getting married and what your financial situation might look like at the time when you go to get married? Like you're having those conversations about, okay, what's your financial situation? Okay, what's yours? And what are we bringing into this marriage? Right? That was $60-something thousand in debt's a big deal, right? All right. That's a little more than the average, but it's not too far from the average. Yeah, it's in the 30,000 range, I think. Yeah. So yeah, it's not too abnormal, I guess, is what we're saying. So it's pretty wild, but we can make some different decisions. But God, right? How cool that miracle they worked out to eradicate that debt through God's people. So cool. Any other last thoughts? How about you guys?
One thing that stuck out to me when I listened to it a second time was the person that called and said, I can only give $8, but she gave, So never think if that catches on, which we're hoping so here. It gives you guys ideas. Don't be shy to ask somebody and say, oh, they probably don't have whatever. If they have $8, it was all part of that big blessing. So every little bit makes you happy too. They were part of the mount, right?
Amen. Yeah, there's a few lessons from that video too, isn't there? It's really about thinking about being intentional around any debt that we might get into, and then just how the power of generosity and partnering with others. So cool. So next we want to transition more into the practical side of things. So if you have your the spreadsheet that you've been working on in your phone or your device open, go ahead and pop it open. And while you're working on getting it open, this week we're really gonna be focusing on the part of your budget that we're calling discretionary. Would we all be able to kind of define what we mean by discretionary?
Discretionary is the things that you want to buy, but don't need to buy.
That's a pretty simple description, yeah. Yeah, the things you don't have to buy, but that you probably want to buy. Yep, discretionary. So we're going to talk about a couple different approaches to thinking about discretionary expenses. So Kyle, you want to go ahead and jump into those two?
So when I graduated in college, there was and even in high school, quite the pressure, social pressure to do certain things. And you guys seem a little bit more grounded than I was in high school and college, but there was, and I'm sure peer pressure, right? Do they do DARE anymore? DARE to resist drugs? Okay, well anyway, just to do some things that, go to the bar or whatever, or when we graduated college, a lot of people wanted to buy a really nice car, like get a big SUV. They didn't need a big SUV or a big truck. They just wanted it. So what I would recommend is the first point would be values-based. What do you really value? So do you really value cars, nice cars or fast cars, eating out, or cool gear for whatever, for biking or hiking, rock climbing, whatever. And my advice on this would just be to really consider what you value. What do you enjoy buying nice clothes or whatever, or is it just to more so impress other people? Which, I mean, there's, we have to present ourselves well, generally. But that was my big thing was, did I, I saw a bunch of people blowing money on drinks at the bar when I had graduated college. I was 21, and so they tell me now that, mostly a waste of money. They didn't, it wasn't Christ-centered relationships. It was just a bunch of posturing a lot of times. As an example, that's an extreme example. I don't think you guys will have to deal with any of that because you seem like grounded kids. So that's my first thing. And then also I want to touch on what's called the memory dividend. So what that means is what can you do now as a teenager that you can't do later in life? So for example, or that you don't want to do, or that you would not enjoy doing later in life. So when I was 20, we had the opportunity to go to Europe and just bum around in hostels for like a couple of weeks. So it's like, would I do that now, 35? No, I don't. I'm not going to bum around in hostels, but do I have great memories of doing that when I could, when it was cheaper, when I was early 20s? Yeah. Can I probably buy a nice car when I'm 70? Yeah, probably. Could I go hike, do all the 14,000 foot peaks in Colorado, hike all those when I'm 70, in my 70s? No, I probably can't. So just stuff like that. So can you, just focus on what can you do now with your youth and energy that you probably can't do later? Those would be my big things on discretionary spending. Loud concerts. Do I want to go to a loud concert now? No. But do I have great memories of going to concerts when I was early 20s? Yeah, absolutely. Road trips, going sleeping in the car, doing road trips. I'm not going to do it now, but again, great memories. So memory dividend.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is it's important to be intentional. But it's not necessarily to spend the least amount possible, not necessarily, but to spend the dollars you do have and the stuff that you really do value, things that are going to create memories, the things where you're buying quality potentially.
Yep, just being efficient with, because and as you work through your budget, I think you'll see, and we'll touch on this next week with investing, and it's going to be a really exciting week. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about that, but yeah, you may be seeing, gee, there may not be enough left over after tithing, giving, doing all your necessary expenses, and so how do you efficiently use what you have left to get maximum enjoyment?
So any questions around that? What we mean by values-based spending and memory dividend? Does that all make sense? Okay. Oh yeah, just a quick word. We won't be meeting next week for Easter, right? But,
oh yeah.
So it'll be 2 weeks, but yeah, for the fourth lesson, yep. All right, so now let's dive into some of those budget categories that fall in discretionary. So, yeah, we could look here, I guess. But there are several different categories, and if you remember from last week, what we did is we looked up some average costs for different things. This week's a little different because all of this stuff is optional, right? It's all discretionary, which means you don't have to buy things, but you can. So part of what we want to do, we'll give you a few minutes to think about, look at the list, and jot down. There's space in the notes in the spreadsheet if you have the notes, or if you need a handout, we can get you a handout for the week 3. Raise your hand if you need a handout. Kara can get you one. But just jot down, okay, so for travel or hobbies, hey, where do I want to travel to, about how much, and then you could look up how much is that trip going to cost, right? And then you can figure out how much are you going to put into your budget for travel. Another is restaurants and going out to eat. So you can start to think about, okay, how often do I want to be able to go out to eat? And then look up what is the average cost to go out to eat? And then you can factor in how much you need to put into your budget. So one thing to keep in mind, again, I'll remind you guys, is for the budget we're using, what is it going to cost per year? And it can be kind of hard to figure out what am I going to do over the course of a whole year, right? So if it makes it easier, maybe think about what do you want to do per month or per week. Figure out what that number is per either week or month, and then just do the math to make it an annual number. So if you have a monthly number, multiply it by 12. If you have a weekly number, multiply it by 50 or 52, just to get a good annual number. And then part of the homework's gonna be plugging those numbers into your spreadsheet so that you have an idea of what's gonna be for discretionary. And guys, you can chip in here too if you have any thoughts on these different topics, but keep in mind too, like for example, gym is on the list. So what we're really talking about there is fitness, right? And there can be a wide variety of what you would pay for fitness. So there's all sorts of things from very inexpensive, even like body weight exercise type routines that you can do versus very high-end personal training, that's several $1,000s a month and everything in between, So there's a whole variety pack of things that you get to make a decision on. And not necessarily that one is right or wrong, but that you're being intentional around it, and then it fits in your budget as well. Any other insights, guys? All right, so we're going to give you guys like 5 minutes to look up some of these things, start to make notes. We'll be kind of around the room here too. Raise your hand if you need a handout, and yeah, we'll take a few minutes to work on looking up some of these numbers and writing down some numbers for these things, guys. And go. All right, guys, it's been 5 minutes, but does anyone need more time? Are you still in the middle of doing some deep thinking and some searching? Everyone's good? Okay, if you're not all the way finished, you, of course, can always work on this at home too, right? But we want to go ahead and talk through our 3 scenarios. Kyle, do you want to walk us through those guys real quick? So our 3 folks, they did their discretionary expenses, and where did they turn out at? Where did they end up at?
I have, and this is in the spreadsheet too, but you have, so you got the spreadsheet ninja is what we're calling them, the planning ninja.
Yeah, our budget ninja.
Budget ninja, yeah, not making a ton, but also very intentional, like Greg said, with expenses. So I came out, the ninja and the planner, kind of similar views on this stuff, but they came out at the same. Baller, he's going on, he's going on an international trip, maybe using some credit card points because he's racking up a ton of credit card debt, living his lifestyle, going out to eat quite a bit more than the other 2. So, yeah, so that guy's spending quite a bit more each year, enjoying his life, which, hey, that's his prerogative, but.
Yeah, but let's go ahead and see what is the impact. So far we've plugged in how much we've made, right? And then we looked at, so that was week 1. Last week, week 2, we looked at what are the necessities for our spending, our house, our food, and things like that, transportation. And then this week's the discretionary. So now we've got all that in there. Now what is left over? What is left over? The $1 million question. How are they doing? All right, so the budget ninja, how are they doing, Kyle? What do they got?
They got a good amount. They're saving another, I don't know, $500-600 a month. So at the end of the year, they have around $7,000.
Which is pretty good on a low salary. Low salary, and there are already, remember in the budget, they are already saving 10%, and they're giving 10% as well. So this $7,000 is money they can, what could they do with this extra $7,000 roughly?
I'd recommend investing it. They can fund their IRAs. They can, yeah, I mean, as I have another row here to show really the impact of all of this, and we'll get into this more next week, but you know, assuming the market's, you know, if he puts it in the stock market, the Ninja, you know, they'll come out with 6 figures, and this is just for this year, and this isn't even accounting for the 10% that they already saved. So, and we'll talk about compounding next week and how the magic and the power of that. But you know, this person has a long time horizon, 30 years at 10%. It's really incredible what can happen with this.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the baller, who their income was, let's see, about $36,000 per year more than the Ninja, our budget Ninja. But where'd they end up financially? How much do they have left over?
They're in trouble. They're in some debt. So
Almost.
They got to make some different choices, because that's not going to, because as we saw in the first week, once you go in credit card debt, it's really hard to get out of it.
Yeah, so just in 1 year, they put themselves in about $23,000 of debt, which, you know, if you're spending more than you're making and you're doing that, then you've got to do something, which is usually you're borrowing that money. So that's where the credit card debt piece comes in. So yeah, so that's kind of eye-opening, right? Like, whoa, okay. So it doesn't necessarily mean just earning more money is the answer. Sometimes it's how you're managing your expenses, right? Then lastly, we have our planner, who not only earned well, but also got a side gig, and then also is really maximizing their spending, really being intentional with their spending. So where do they end up at?
They're doing great. They're doing great. They got $40,000 left over at the end of the year. Again, not including the 10% that they already saved. So, but if they invest that 30, 38, 39 grand, they're going to come out, you know, quite a bit ahead in 30 years, even in 20 years, even in 10 years. I mean, we'll go through all that next week.
Is that pretty eye-opening, guys? Just the difference of the scenarios? It makes a huge impact over time. And like Kyle mentioned, we'll be talking about investing next week. Like, what are we going to do with that extra? The other thing that you can do with that extra is you can be generous with it, right?
Yeah.
It gives you a little extra margin above your tithe to be able to be generous and be able to give on every good occasion, like the Bible says. So it opens up some options. So let's see. So now let's talk about your guys' budget for a second. In your spreadsheet, there's a tab. There's been tabs in there for each of the weeks, right? So after week 4 tab, there's a tab called Master Plan. Master Plan. And so whatever you've been plugging into your spreadsheet each week has been pre-populating into that Master Plan tab. And what you'll see is what your plan's numbers look like compared to the Ninja, the Baller, and the Planner. And the good news is when you do this kind of stuff in a spreadsheet, you still have a chance to make changes if you need to. So if you do look at your numbers and you find yourself like your numbers look a little bit more like the Baller than it does the Planner, and you want to make some changes, let's just kind of brainstorm some different ideas of what we can do to maybe help create some more margin in our finances, to have more left over. Who would like to have more left over at the end of your year and your month, right? Yeah, we want leftover not to be upside down. So what would be some ideas that we could do? We talked about last week some. You guys are welcome to raise your hands. We'll share some ideas, even some things that maybe we talked about last week around housing and cars and that kind of stuff. All right.
An idea I have is for entertainment, like going outside and enjoying like the free parks, nature.
Just get outside. Yep. Doesn't cost anything, and it's good for your health, right?
Yes.
Mental health and physical health, yeah.
You could just get crafty. There's alternate ways to watch shows that require subscription service. Now, don't break the law, of course, but maybe rent a Netflix account with a friend or something like that.
Get those subscription costs down. Yeah, that's true. Yep. Share it with your roommate, right? Or something. So when you do look at your budget numbers, you could look at which ones are some of the biggest. Probably one of the biggest is probably going to be your housing. You guys remember any ideas from what we talked about last week about ways to get your housing costs down? Don't be shy. What was an idea to get your housing costs down?
Roommates.
Roommates. Rent out rooms. Rent out space. Share the cost, right? Spread it around. Any other ideas, guys? What else do we have?
Well, going back to the discretionary idea, but there's a young adult group in Holland bought a 6-person subscription on. They split a 6-person Spotify subscription.
Oh, there you go. That's smart. That's smart. There's a lot of ways to save money on cars too, right? We were looking at like maybe paying cash, like working, saving up money and paying cash for a used car, and then you can save up to replace that on a consistent basis and, you know, keep that running, maybe put some more money in your budget.
I don't know if it's for a family thing or an address thing, but I know when we were shopping for car insurance, if you live by yourself, your insurance will cost more. If you have somebody in the same address that joins the same insurance, both of your insurances will cost less.
That's another thing about once you get older and you start needing to insure things like cars and homes and things like that, is just plan on every 2-3 years shopping around, because you will find at different times at different insurance companies will have much better rates than others. So don't just run with whatever you get initially. Get a couple of quotes and get them consistently. It doesn't take that much time, really. Any other thoughts? We talked about clothes, right? Like there's different ways to buy clothes, whether you can do thrifting, we heard, to, you know, make sure you buy quality so over time you spend less on clothes, but still have nice stuff. Think about restaurants and going out to eat. You know, you can, you know, it's a very different cost going out to eat at like a, you know, fast food versus even like Chipotle or versus even, you know, tropical smoothie versus, you know, trying to think of a really expensive place in town you guys might know. I don't know, big steakhouse or something. But so all those cost different things, right? They're not all the same price for the same food versus even just cooking at home. You might learn how to grill and might love it. There's some folks that really get into smoking meats, and man, there's nothing better tasting than that. It's not that expensive, really.
One thing that we did a lot at our house that I really enjoy is just potluck. Just invite people over, and everybody brings something different. There's always plenty of food left over, and everybody's so satisfied, so it's a great time.
Cool. Guys, any other thoughts or tips before we move on?
I think this just shows, you know, if you see someone with a nice car or whatever that's living a flashy lifestyle, that doesn't actually mean a lot of times that, you know, they're in a good spot financially. And so, but you know, you go back to the peer pressure around that, and I lived in Dallas for 10 years, and it was very crazy, the peer pressured and the pressure to keep up appearances there, as opposed to here. But yeah, not a lot of times, you know, do you see that, and that, you know, there's always a cost to it, is what I'm trying to say.
So I'm gonna piggyback on what he just said. This is going back like 5 or 6 years. My family went up north, and we're on this lake having fun, and they have this sandbar where everybody's boats are parked around, and we're all chatting and eating and stuff, and we started talking to the couple on the boat next to us, and oh, nice sport, you know, all kinds of, like, very vamped up boat. And so my husband was like, oh, you know, how much, you know, was your boat? Must be a lot, this and that. And they goes, oh, we don't care how much it is. Actually, they're going to take it away like any day now. So we're just enjoying whatever summer we can get out of it.
That's no way to live.
That was the answer.
But yeah, appearances don't always tell the tale, right? You don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. That's cool. Awesome. All right, guys, now it's time to look at how your stocks are doing. So if you haven't checked how your stock has done since Friday, go ahead and look it up. Go ahead and take a look and see where it's at. Once you look it up and plug it into your spreadsheet for week 3, it should calculate how much your stock has gone up or down since the week 1. Fortunately, the overall market went up last week. Praise God, because the very first week it was really bad. So yeah, raise your hand after you have a chance to look yours up, and you can tell us how much your stock went up or down since week 1, as far as what percentage. While you're looking it up, I'll just let you know that the S&P 500, which again is a group of the 500 kind of largest maybe just we'll say the largest U.S. companies that's here in the United States, and they are right now, since we started, they're down 3.9% down. So curious how your guys' stocks are doing. Hopefully the year's bounced back pretty good last week too. And maybe by next week, who knows, we might even be in the positive. Or not next week, in 2 weeks when we come back after Easter. And if you need a hand, raise your hand. If you haven't picked a stock, go ahead and pick a stock. Just any company that you know of. A few of them that were picked were like Celsius and Sony and Amazon. Yeah, who else was picked? Oh, Roblox? Is somebody pick Roblox, I think? Yeah. So we got a question. What are our thoughts on crypto? I don't know if we can get into that right now, but I don't know. Do you have any initial thoughts? It would be kind of brief, or we just want to keep on track?
I'm invested in crypto, but I don't think I can say I'm an advisor. I don't think I can recommend it right now, but I think it has a bright future, so that's my only thoughts.
Probably not all in on crypto, though, right? Like 100% of your portfolio is probably not in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There might be a portion. It's good to diversify. Yeah. All right. Somebody had to have looked up your stock by now and figured out if you're up or down. How's it looking, guys? Anybody? All right, here we go.
Tesla is up from last week, but still down from the start.
It is, okay. Do you have an idea what percentage it's down overall, or not yet? Okay. About 5%? We have one over here?
So according to this, the stock price of Sony has been up 15% from start, I think.
Seriously. You nailed it, man. Sony up 15%. That's amazing. That's crazy. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Did you guys figure out yours at all?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
I have Amazon, and mine is down 4%.
Down 4%. Okay. That's really close to our 3.9% for...
Yeah, I did Nintendo, and they're down 3%.
Hey, down 3, down a little bit less than the S&P 500. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing it.
I did Celsius, and it went up 2.8%.
You're up 2.8%? Awesome. Anybody else here? Who did they just buy? Who did Celsius just buy? What's the other? Yeah, so they just closed a deal for close to $2 billion for buying Alani. So yeah, everybody's buying those energy drinks. They're supporting Celsius. And Cool. Well, let's stay with it. We're going to check it again in 2 weeks and see how we end up. And we'll keep rolling with that. So our homework for next week is fill out your discretionary expenses. Make sure you really get those into your spreadsheet so you have those numbers. Then also in your week 3, and we'll email this out too, but in your week 3 handout, there's a link where you look up your type in the Enneagram results, and you can look up your career perspective on your Enneagram type. So be sure to check that out. That might give you some insight in the career maybe you hadn't thought of, or maybe it might help point you away from a different career, or yeah. So check those out, and we'll talk at the beginning of week 4 and give you an opportunity to share a little bit about maybe what you learned, or if there was an occupation there that was like, oh man, that's something I really might be interested in. Sound good? Any questions on that? Okay. Go ahead.
So one experience I had one time, one year when I ran this class, is there was a student that wanted to be, at the beginning on week 1, she wanted to be a tattoo artist in LA, moving from Michigan, and, you know, put all the numbers and her desires and this and that. And by this week, she had quickly figured out that the money was not going to work out. She was majorly upside down on her budget, so she had to think, what else do I like that could support this, and came up with veterinarian, and that was able to support her lifestyle. So she just changed the profession. She happens to love animals. She had like dogs and lizards and something else. So for her, it was a great thing. So don't think that if you're switching a profession, it has to be to something boring. It's just think, what else do you like that you might enjoy? Yeah, and that was a switch that she decided to make that supported the lifestyle that she wanted. So in the end, it's going to be a toss. It might be a toss unless, you have your own business too, but it's, do you stick with the profession that you like or the lifestyle that you like? Which one is more important to you? So
That's cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, we're going to end with a debate here today, guys. And we're going to have 2 teams here, and we're going to be debating if you do go the route of going to college, is it better to live on campus or is it better to live at home while you're going to college? So living on campus versus living at home. So let's do it like this. Let's do this table over here. You guys are team living at campus. You guys are going to be living at home. You guys are on campus, and you guys can be at home. Sound good? All right. So we'll go ahead and give you 5 minutes to work together as a team to figure out, why that is the best option, and then pick somebody from your team to come up and represent your team, guys. So ready, go. Should we do it? All right, let's go ahead and do it. Go ahead and send your representatives up. We'll have those in favor of campus, living on campus over here, and those in favor of living at home over on this side. You got this, guys. Yeah, come on up, guys. Send up your representative. All right, we got everybody represented now? I think we do. Okay. All right, Grace, you want to kick us off? Oh, sorry, you have the mic. All right.
Okay, reasons for living on campus. You can get away from your annoying siblings, if you have them, providing you more energy to focus. Second reason, you'll be closer with your classmates. Third reason, you have easier access to your campus, so it can help you maybe do more extracurriculars that are over there. Maybe you have your teachers closer and it's less gas money. And finally, you get to learn the experience of living on your own.
Ooh, good points. Thank you, Grace. Give her a big hand. That was awesome. A lot of good points there. Well thought out. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so as Grace was saying, it takes away a lot of the larger costs of living, such as a house and a car. So you don't even need to spend money on gas or any other of these common things that you would need. Another point would be that you can also get many benefits, such as free food and free breakfasts, which is awesome. And lastly, you can network quite easily when you don't have to drive everywhere. When you're living next to the people that you would be networking with and the people that are going to be in the same fields as you in the future, it just creates a lot more opportunities.
Cool. Well, thank you. Any thoughts? Just a couple thoughts popped in my mind. Maybe let's ask you. So, if you're living on campus, how do you live there without any housing costs? How do you live there for free?
That's a good point. I guess you don't live there without cost, but it takes away the cost of gas that you would be spending if you did have an actual house or apartment or something like that.
I see that you were driving in from. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does usually still cost something to live on campus.
Yeah.
And then the free food. How do you get the free food on campus?
So certain colleges, how do you get the free food? So you walk there. So if the college has
You walk there.
if the college
I think-
has that program, which I think more and more colleges are, it's a steady growth of that program. But if you live on campus, you can walk down to the cafeteria during breakfast or school hours, and you can get a free meal.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was my understanding. You had to pay for the meal plan, but maybe there's free meals. I'm not sure. Okay. Typically, you pay for it, but I don't. We're in a progressive state, so you never know. But cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Give him a hand for sharing today. That was awesome. All right, guys. So, who would like to go first over here for representing team living at home?
It can cost money to live on campus, and if your college is close to your home, it wouldn't cost that much gas money, so you could just drive home after, and you'll be good. There's limited privacy and cooking in a college campus, and is often loud, and you have roommates, so you might get distracted and not be able to get stuff done.
Wow, good points. Give her a hand. Those are excellent points. Well said.
So you can live at home for usually less than on campus. And then there's also the fact that you don't have to make new friends if you don't want to. And you will oftentimes have less privacy in a dorm versus staying at home. And then there's also the benefit of getting more time with your family. And that can be big, especially if you're wanting to work in a different state or somewhere where you won't be able to see your family as often.
Aw, all the parents are like, that's so sweet. That is awesome. I love that. All right, well, give them a big hand. That was awesome. Well thought out, guys. Thank you for being a part of that. Hope you guys are enjoying the debates. So anyway, we are pretty much, that's a wrap for week number 3. We'll be back in 2 weeks for week number 4. We'll be talking about investing and being generous, and we'll be also have some time to answer any questions if you're trying to figure out how to balance your budget. You know, if you're looking at how much you're earning minus your expenses, boom, 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 we can help with that. So anyway, do we need to pick a winner for the debate, or did we already do it? We give it to the speakers. Okay, good deal. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for coming out and being a part of this. It's been a lot of fun. And you guys have a blessed Easter. We will see you in 2 weeks. We're here if you guys have any questions. Peace out.